Welcome to the channel. It's T Money Magic coming at you today with the black cards in Lowryn Eclipsed. This is going to be a review for how I think these cards will do in a limited format, so draft or in your sealed pre-releases and things of that nature. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to be putting the card up, and then right beside the card, there's going to be a letter grade. An A is a bomb. It's going to be a card you're going to play every time. A B is a card that you're going to be very happy to play with. You're not going to want to cut that from your deck. A C is a playable card. It's a card that you'll play to fill out your curve. You're going to be happy to play it. Sometimes you'll cut them. Sometimes you'll leave them in. A D is a situational or a sideboard card, and an F is just a card that's completely unplayable. You're going to want to avoid that card at all costs. And with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So the first card we have is Auntie's Sentence. It is 2 mana. It's a sorcery. It says choose one target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land permanent card from it. That player discards that card. Option number 2 says target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. This is a really solid common. It gives you flexibility, which is always nice. So if you get it in the early game, it's probably better to try and discard because there's a good chance you're going to hit it on land. Like if it's turn 2 and you have this card in hand and your opponent doesn't have any creatures, but you want to be mana efficient, you just want to burn it. It's a good way to get something out of their hand. It's nice because you get to choose what they have to discard as well. And then in the late game or in the mid game, really, because discard effects, they really they only work in very certain situations. And when that happens, and when it gets later in the game, or if there's a card that has 2 power toughness that you just really want to remove, then it's good for that as well. I think it's going to be helped out as well because this set has a lot of cards that already enter with -1 counters on them. So this could be an easy way to remove a threat before they're able to remove those counters and really get that creature going. It's a very solid common. You'll be happy to play it. Next up, we have Barbed Bloodletter. It's 2 mana. It's an equipment. It has flash. It says when this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains Wither until end of turn. To Wither, it means it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. That means that if you were to attack with a creature, let's say that your creature has 2 power attack and it's attacking into a 3 power toughness, it'll get -1/-1 counters. So then it'll have 1 toughness remaining. Equipped creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn, and you can then equip it for 2 as well. I think this is another solid 2-drop. You're going to be happy with it. The fact that it has flash is good too because it works well with fairies. There's a ton of cards in this set that care about casting things on your opponent's turn. You're going to be able to ambush people because it's going to make your creature bigger. Giving things Wither is not as important, but in a format where -1/-1's a thing, I mean, it could play off in your favor where you're just able to remove it, or you're able to take a massive threat and just make it not a threat anymore. This equipment as well is one of those that when it enters, it automatically equips to something, which is huge. Being able to just pay 2 mana and then have it enter and put it onto something, that's a way better than just having a 2 mana equipment that you just lay down on the battlefield and then you have to pay another 2 mana to equip it. And then in the late game, when you need to equip it to a bigger creature or something in the air or anything that's kind of going to help you get to lethal, you'll be happy to do that as well. It's another very solid common. Next, we have Vile Bogart. It is for 1 black mana. It's a goblin assassin. It says when this creature dies, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. I think this card's going to be really, really great in your black decks just to kind of help you fill out. It gives you a 1-drop, which we've seen before. These 1-drop, these 1 mana 1/1s that just kind of can swing in the early game, and then when they become irrelevant, you can remove them and they do something to your opponent. They always play out really nicely. This has the added addition of even if you don't necessarily have a great attack or a way that you can just trade off for this, there's a ton of things in black that come in and they put -1/-1 counters on something else. So if you're able to have another creature that comes in and you have to blight something and you blight your Vile, you're going to feel good about that because then you can put a -1/-1 on one of your opponent's creatures. It's going to feel really good. You're going to be happy to play this card as well. Next up, we have Bitter Bloom Bear. It is for 2 black mana. It's a fairy rogue. It has flash and flying. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying. This card is great. You're going to be wanting to flash things in with your fairy deck. It's going to help you create a 1/1. Because you're able to flash it in, you could basically do it on their end step, and then you're able to immediately get the 1/1 blue and black fairy token on your upkeep. It's Bitter Blossom, except it's an actual creature, which makes it even better. You can start swinging in with it because it's going to be, flyer. And it's really going to help you snowball, especially if you're able to get it early. It is 2 black mana. So, you're not always going to be able to just play it on turn 2. But if you are ever able to play it on turn 2, it's going to feel incredible. And it just scales from there. Even in the late game, this is a fine card to flash in on an end step. And then automatically you're just getting that 1/1. You do lose the 1 life, so you want to make sure that your life total's good enough to sustain what this creature is going to be doing. But in those grindier like blue black fairy decks, you're going to be very happy to have this card. You're going to have ways to like make it work and go long and close out the game with this card. It's very solid. Next, we have Blight Rod. It is for 3 mana. It's an instant. It says put 4 -1/-1 counters on target creature. So, fun fact about these videos, I don't really like the. Whenever I'm reading these cards, these are the first time that I'm looking at these cards. I haven't like done anything before. I haven't looked at them. I haven't really reviewed the set. I'm just kind of doing it as I go. And this card made me be like, okay, well, like how good is putting 4 -1/-1 counters on something really? And I looked through the set, and there's so few creatures that have larger than 4 power toughness. Like this card's gonna be great removal. The fact that it's a common, you're probably going to be able to get it later as well. There's so much that you can do with this. I also might have underrated some of my white cards. White has a lot of cards that'll give other creatures you control indestructible. However, something that -1/-1 counters do is they actually get around that indestructibility. So like all the cards that do indestructible are actually less good in this set as they would be in other sets just because of how much -1/-1 counter stuff we have going on. This is an excellent removal spell. You're going to be very, very happy with it. Next up, we have Blighted Blackthorn. It is 5 mana. It's a Tree Folk Warlock. It is a common. It says whenever this creature enters or attacks, you may blight 2. If you do draw a card, and you lose 1 life. To blight 2, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. So basically, how this reads is it's a 5 mana 1/5 that you lose 1 life and you draw a card. That's already incredible. The fact that like if you don't really care because it's a 1/5, it can probably survive the hit, and you're able to swing with it the next turn and put 2 more -1/-1 counters on it just to draw that additional card. That's going to feel great. There's all sorts of other ways where you can remove counters as well. So depending on like what deck it's in or like ways that you can flicker this and you can get that trigger to go off multiple times, it's going to fill out your deck. I mean, it is 5 mana. So like how good is like a 5 mana? Like if it was a 5 mana card that just drew you 1 card to replace itself, that wouldn't be too great. But a lot of times you're at least gonna get 2 cards out of this before it goes away. And it even is set up in an instance where like you could get in for a 3rd time potentially and still be able to blight onto itself and draw 3 cards. And that's gonna feel incredible, especially in like the late game when you're just trying to like stabilize and things like that. Even if you're only able to do it twice, it's still gonna feel good. It's a fine topping curve. Like it'll make the cut, especially depending on like what deck you're in. It's another solid common. Next up, we have Bloodline Binding. It is 8 mana in total, including 2 in black. It's a sorcery. It has Convoke. It says choose a creature type. Return all creature cards of the chosen type from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I don't really know how good this card's going to be. It seems really situational. I mean, even in a black deck where like graveyard stuff matters and things like that, like you might be in a deck where you have a lot of elves and it's going to feel good to return all those elves. But elves are typically smaller anyways. And how many of those you have in your graveyard, I don't really know how much that's going to help you. It just really depends. I don't think this is like just a straight up great card. We saw this in blue as well, but blue was like about creatures that were already on the battlefield, and even that one was pretty situational. I think this one's even worse than that one, so I just don't really know how valuable it's going to be in limited. Next up, we have Bogart Mischief. It is 3 mana. It's a Kindred Enchantment Goblin. It's an uncommon. It says when this enchantment enters, you may blight 1. If you do, create 2 1/1 black and red goblin creature tokens. To blight 1, you got to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control. It says whenever a goblin creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I think this is a very solid 3 mana card that you can play out. The fact that it's like it gets you potentially 2 bodies up front. Now that is kind of situational, right? So you do have to keep in mind, if it's a 3 mana card and you don't have another creature that you can blight 1 to get those 2 goblins, it's not going to feel great. This is also one of those things where once you have those 2 goblins, there's really, that's it. That's the value. But if you're in like a high enough goblin deck where you have at least, 8 or 9 goblins in your deck and you have this card down and you're pinging them and you're gaining life, it can really kind of, help you close out games and things of that nature. I think it's a solid card. Again, not as strong as like, could be if it would just enter and give you those 2 goblins. You do have to worry about making sure that you have a turn 1 or turn 2 creature that you can blight before you can get those goblins out. But there's enough like smaller mana creatures. I mean, even the 1 black mana that we saw earlier, that's just the 1/1, and when it goes away, you get to put a -1/-1 on like opponent's creature. Like that's gonna feel great. Like if you have that on turn 1, you lay this down on turn 3, you get 2 goblins. They potentially lose one of their creatures. It's gonna feel good. Next up, we have Bogart Prankster. It is 2 mana. It's a Goblin Warrior common. It says whenever you attack, target attacking Goblin you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This card's not too great. I mean, a 2 mana 1/3 is fine. Like, that's a fine stat line. You're gonna be okay with that stat line. The problem is like whenever you attack, target attacking Goblin you control gets +1 until end of turn is not like a super big effect. Your opponent, you're gonna be able to go kind of wide with goblins, but still, like only being able to do it with one because it's only one. I just don't think it's really strong enough or powerful enough. You're gonna end up cutting this a lot. Next up, we have Block Slither Embrace. It's 2 mana. It's a sorcery. It says an additional cast this spell, Blight 1 or pay 3. Exile target creature. So a 5 mana exile creature is like fine. It's a sorcery speed, so it's just like that's like in like a C minus. It's a removal spell. You'll play it when you have to. But the fact that you can pay like 2 mana and then you get to exile something and all you have to do is blight 1, that's going to be huge. I think that definitely brings this up a lot. It's probably one of the strongest commons. Black seems to have like a lot of really, really solid commons. This one is also on that list. There's a lot of flexibility with it. You're going to be happy with either option. You're at least going to want to have one of these in your deck. And depending on what kind of deck you're in, like especially if you're in a deck that has a lot of -1/-1 stuff going on, or you get payoffs for it or anything like that, you're going to want several of these and you'll be happy with them. Next up, we have Creekwood Safe Right. It is 2 mana. It's an elf warrior. It says this creature enters with 3 -1/-1 counters on it. At the beginning of your end step, if there is an elf card in your graveyard and this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature. So this starts out as a 2 mana 2/2, which is like a solid stat line. That's where you want to go. And the fact that it's kind of like can scale with the game is pretty solid. So, on a turn 2, it might be the only elf that you have in play, and that's going to be less good. Do keep in mind in the elf decks, like there's ways to mill, there are ways to put elves in your graveyard without them ever having to reach the battlefield first. That's going to make it feel better. If you lay this down on turn 2, it's probably going to stay at 2/2. It's not going to feel too great. If you have the elves and you're able to lay it down later, it's going to get better and better. But again, it's going to be like you're still waiting a couple of turns before it turns into that powerful 5/5. I think all that really kind of holds it back from being anything super special. Like it's just a solid playable. You'll be okay to have it. Next up, we have Darkness Ascends. It is 4 mana, including 2 in black. It's a sorcery. At uncommon, it says put 2 -1/-1 counters on each creature. I think this is a very situational card. There are times we were like, because you're in black, if you're playing this card, and black is the one that probably has the most creatures that enter with -1 counters on them already, there's a good chance you're doing more harm to yourself than your opponent, depending on which one you're playing. But if you're in the right situation, you can pull it from your sideboard and you can absolutely hose your opponent. That's going to feel great. But it's definitely like something that you pull out of your sideboard. It's not something that you're going to take very highly. Next, we have Dawn Hand Descendant. It is for 1 black mana. It's an elf warlock. You can tap it to blight 1 and surveil 1. You can tap it and blight 2 and exile target card from a graveyard. During your turn, you may cast creature spells from among cards you own to exile with this creature by removing 3 counters from among creatures you control in addition to paying their other costs. I don't think this card's going to be very playable and limited. It's too situational. It takes way too long to get going. Like if you lay this down on turn 1 and then you have a turn 2 creature and then you have to blight 1 your turn 2 creature or blight 1 this creature to surveil 1, and then like it's just it's not gonna do enough for you in the early game, and in the late game it might be a little too late to start doing anything with it. That's actually where this is going to be more effective. But typically, like with 1 mana cards, you want to get them down early. You want to start swinging with them. You want to be doing all this stuff. I just don't think it's that good of a card. You're going to pass on it a lot. Next, we have Dawn Hand Eulogist. It is for 4 mana. That's cool. It's the card art that we've been using for our review. So that's cool. Good to see you. It is an elf warlock. It is a menace. It says when this creature enters, mill 3 cards. If there's an elf card in your graveyard, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So a 4 mana 3/3 menace is like not really that great. I mean, by the time you're playing down, you're putting 4 mana and you're only getting a 3/3 out of it. Your opponent's probably stabilized, or they're about to stabilize to a point where like the menace isn't going to have that much of an effect. Now, because it comes in and it gives you that strong ability where like you gain 2 life and your opponent loses 2 life, there are situations where depending on how well you are at like pinging in your opponent and kind of withering away their life total, that you could just lay this down and win the game, and like that's going to feel really good. But I just don't think it's that strong. I think it's understated. You're probably going to pass on this a lot or pull it out as like a sideboard card if you absolutely need it, or something that you have to fill out your elf deck, but it's not going to be that great of a card. Next up, we have Doss of the Dawn Glow. It is 5 mana. It's an instant. It's an uncommon. It says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then, if this isn't your first main phase, blight 2. So I don't really think this card's going to be all that great. I mean, like getting something back from your graveyard is huge. Where it's going to really shine is in like your elf deck. But again, elves are typically kind of smaller creatures anyways. And if you're doing this at your opponent's instep or something, or you're trying to ambush them, you're just not really going to have that good of luck because your creature is going to come in and it's going to be much smaller. There's a world where like you can get rid of like a massive bomb or something, and then you're still able to lay that down, and that's going to feel incredible, even with the 2/1/1 counters on it. But a lot of times, even though it has that instant, to avoid getting those negative counters on it, you'll just wait till your turn to cast it. Especially if it has like a bunch of upside as far as like when it enters, it does something as well. You know, it's a solid card. Like you'll keep one of these in your deck if you're in like the right deck. Next up, we have Dream Caesar. It is 4 mana. It's a fairy rogue. It has flying. It says when this creature enters, you may blight 1. If you do, each opponent discards a card. This card is not good. It's 4 mana for a flying. That's a 3/2. It's already super understated. There's a chance where like you pay 4 mana and it's only a 2/1 and it's got flying, and that's going to feel bad. And because it's 4 mana, you're already like the game's going longer. So if you get up to 4 mana, there's a chance that like your opponent doesn't really have any cards to discard, or if they do, they're just like discarding an extra land or something like that. Like these cards are not really good. We see these. There's at least one in every black set, I feel like, where it's like a 4 mana card that makes your opponent discard something. They're never any good. I don't think this one's going to be any good. You're going to play it if you're desperate to fill out your curve in a fairy deck, and that's going to be about it. Next, we have Gloom Reaper. It is a 5 mana, including 2 in black. It's an elf assassin. It says, when this creature enters, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -0/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves you control plus the number of elf cards in your graveyard. This card is going to be incredible in an elf deck. You know, you're going to have elves in the graveyard. You're going to have elves on the battlefield. Even if, like, by the time you lay this down, it's your only elf in play, there's a good chance that you have other elf in your graveyard. You're going to be able to at least remove one of their threats. You're going to be able to, you won't be able to make anything huge in that sense, but you're still going to come out ahead, or at least like get rid of one of your opponent's creature. Hopefully it can help you restabilize. If this come down and you have multiple elves already in play and you're able to, like, let's say that this, even like -3. So like you get a +3 one of your elves, you get a -3 one of your opponent's creatures. You probably remove their creature. You swing in with a big elf. It's going to feel incredible the turn it comes down. It's definitely like a higher card in the set. You're going to value it very highly. You're going to take it very highly, and you're going to be very, very happy to have it in your elf deck. Next up, we have Gnarlbark Elm. It is for 3 mana. It's a tree folk wizard at uncommon. It says this creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay 2 generic and a black to remove 2 counters from this creature. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. You can activate only as a sorcery. So a 3 mana 1/2 is not very good. But the fact that like the next turn, if you have nothing else to do, you can potentially remove one of your opponent's creatures is good. Do keep in mind you can only do that at sorcery speed. So like if they can see it coming, there's a chance where like they hold up something that gives their creature hexproof, or they have something that'll buff their creature, so it doesn't matter that you're giving it -2/-2. And then this card's just gonna feel bad. But then it does become a 3/4, which is much better. Like a 3 mana 3/4 is a great card compared to a 3 mana 1/2. So that will at least even out. Like you'll have a bigger creature. I do think it's a little bit slow. When it enters, it's going to feel terrible. Like if this is your turn 3 play, there's a good chance though, like if you were to put this down on turn 3, your opponent's still trying to stabilize on their side of the board. You have a better chance of being able to get that activated ability the next turn and remove something from them, and that can really tempo and help you get ahead. Overall, I think that makes it like a solid card. It's solid. Next up, we have Graveshifter. It is 4 mana. It's a shapeshifter changeling. It says when this creature enters, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a fun little card. It's a nice callback to Gravedigger, which was a decent card back in its time. I think this card's going to play out the same. I mean, paying 4 mana for a 2/2 is terrible, but if you're paying 4 mana for a 2/2, that also brings back a good creature. And do keep in mind, like black-green in particular, you're going to be milling cards in there. You could mill something that you really, really are going to be happy to get back from the graveyard. Overall, like I think it's another solid card. Next up, we have our first double face card. This is Grub Storied Matriarch. It has Menace. It is for 3 mana. It's a 2/1. It's a rare. It says whenever this creature enters or transforms, return up to 1 target goblin card from your graveyard to your hand. At the beginning of the first main phase, you can pay red, and if you do, you transform Grub. The back half of the card reads, as it's a 2/1 with Menace, it says whenever Grub attacks, you may blight 1. If you do, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of a blighted creature, except it has at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this token. And then at the beginning of your main phase, you can pay black, and if you do transform, grab. So a 3 mana 2/1 with Menace is not good. It just dies to too many things. It's too late. Like the game's already started at that point. So a 3 mana 2/1 Menace, it really doesn't help you do too much. Um, the fact that like on its inner trigger, you can return a goblin card from your graveyard to your hand. Goblins are pretty cheap. Like there's a chance that by turn 3, you already have one that's in your graveyard, and like that's gonna feel fine to do. The back half of the card, like you can blight something, but again, like goblins are just so tiny anyway. So like if you blight one, there's a chance that you're getting rid of that goblin, and then you're getting rid of the token next. I don't really think this card's going to be all that great. It's just too low of stats for what you're getting out of it. It's too hard to get going. I think you'll be fine to not have this in your goblin deck. Next up, we have Gutter Spitter Gang, and it's 4 mana. It's a Goblin Berserker at uncommon. It says at the beginning of your first main phase, you can blight 2. If you don't, you lose 3 life. So this card is going to be solid. It's 4 mana 6/6. Like yes, you're losing potentially 3 life. You're probably not going to be blighting 2 that much with this because you're going to want to keep this a 6/6. Like if it's a 4 mana 4/4, it becomes a lot less good. But you can do that in a pinch if you just need to get a creature out there. You can get rid of something smaller if you need to really help just synergize with your goblin decks because goblins, a lot of them have like once they die triggers anyways and stuff like that. So, but overall, you're probably going to be using the -3 life every turn. So it's kind of like you're going to want to do that as long as you can before you can switch over. Goblin decks are pretty aggressive anyways. I think this is a topping curve for those goblin decks. You're going to be happy to have at least one of them in them. Next up, we have Heirloom Auntie. It's for 3 mana. It's a Goblin Warlock at common. It says this creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. Whenever another creature you control dies, surveil 1, then remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature. So this comes in as a 3 mana 2/2. That's not that great. Again, you're in the Goblin deck, so there's ways where they're going to go away, and then this gets a little bit bigger. But similar to the problem that we saw with another card that was like this in a different color, like it stops at 4/4. So like it'll never be bigger than a 4/4. It comes in understated. It's too situational. Like you're waiting for things to die. You do get a surveil one and things like that, but I just think there's other better commons in this, and like this one's not one of them. You'll play it in your goblin deck if you absolutely have to, but you'll be okay with cutting it too. Next up, we have Iron Shield Elf. It's for 2 mana. It's an elf warrior. It says discard a card. This creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. So do keep in mind like the tap ability. Like so, if you're already swinging with this, you can still discard a card to get that to go off because it's just like that's just part of it. You can also leave it back and then tap it in response to something. So something else though is that there is a lot of -1/-1 counters. So I think this card really kind of like when I was really thinking about it, it made me really review the white cards that I had earlier because there's a ton of cards in white that give things indestructible. And like indestructible is just not going to be as good as this. A lot of the creature or a lot of the spells that they have that to remove creatures are based in like -1/-1 counters, which gets away from indestructible. They also have exile effects, which gets away from it. All sorts of things that can kind of get around this ability. I still think it's solid. Like a 2 mana 3/1 that you can swing in with and like help you curve out is going to be great. It's going to feel really good in an Elf Warrior deck. It's just not as strong as we've seen in the past because of the kind of removal that's in this format, but it's still very solid. You'll be happy to have it. Next, we have Moonglove Extractor. It's for 3 mana. It's an Elf Warlock at common. It says whenever this creature attacks you, draw a card and lose 1 life. 3 mana 2/1, so it's already understated. There's a good chance where you're only being able to swing in with this one time and then it just dies. Like you do get a card to replace with it, but you've already wasted a turn just to cast it in the first place. I think there's better ways to draw cards. Like you'll play it in your elf deck if you absolutely have to. Elf deck does have a good synergy with like graveyards and things like that. So that makes it a little bit better if you're able to get this back later on and do it again. But this is just kind of like a filler card. You'll take it or you'll leave it. Next up, we have Moonshadow. It's for 1 black mana. It's an elemental. It has menace. It says this creature enters with 6 -1/-1 counters on it. Whenever 1 or more permanent cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, while this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 from this creature. So a 1 mana card that starts out as a 1/1 is basically what this is. It does have menace, so like that's like a real thing. It can help you create like a good strategy as far as like attacking in the early game. If you have other ways to like sacrifice things or anything like that. And it does say like whenever 1 or more permanents is put into your graveyard from anywhere. So do keep that in mind. So like if you have anything that mills you or anything like that, and you put a land or another creature in there, that all counts as well. So there are ways in a lot of situations where it'll get up to the 7/7 pretty fast. especially if you're in like the green black deck. So I think it's a very solid card. Like it's a fair, it's more than passable. Like you're gonna be very happy to have it in your deck. It's gonna synergize well with elements as well, but it's more gonna synergize with the milling cards and things like that. Next up, we have Morn Song Area. It is for 3 mana, including 2 in black. It's a legendary enchantment. It says players can't draw cards or gain life. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life, searches their library for a card, and puts it into their hand, then shuffles. I'm going to go ahead and just say this isn't playable and limited. Like, if you play against this, you're just going to be mad. Like, it's just going to slow down the game to a halt. You're going to have to, you can only get 1 card a turn. So, like, if you need a land drop, you're going to get your land drop. Like, it's going to be one of these weird games where like you're getting your best things out on the battlefield as fast as you can and just hoping that you can outrace your opponent. I don't think very highly of it in limited. Like I think it's a fun design, but I would avoid it. Next we have Mud Button Curse Tosser. It is for 1 black mana. It's a Goblin Warlock. It says at additional cost to cast the spell, behold a goblin or pay 2. This creature can't block. It says when this creature dies, destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less. So this is going to feel great in a goblin deck where you're able to lay it down on turn 1. It's a very aggressive creature, and you can behold a goblin. It's going to feel terrible as like a 3 mana 2/1. Now, I do like the when this creature dies, destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less. That's going to happen, but you do got to keep in mind, like if you only have a 2/1 in play and like they have a 1/2 in play, and you swing in, like then they just kind of negate each other, and you don't get that extra ability. Then this is going to be better when you're able to like blight it or something and you'll still be able to remove something. It has like a lot of synergy going on. I think it's a very solid uncommon. You're going to be happy to take it in your goblin deck, but really just any deck that has like blight stuff going on, you'll also be very happy with it. Next up, we have Nameless Inversion. It's for 2 mana. It's a Kindred Instant Shapeshifter. It says changeless. It says target creature gets +3/-3 and loses all creature types until end of turn. So this is solid. Like a lot of times it's going to be a 2 mana kill spell. Like that's going to be what you use it for. It's just the -3 ability to kind of get rid of a threat. But if there ever is a situation where you have a creature with 4 toughness, like particularly like flyers or something like that, where you can swing in and get a lot of massive damage out of it, it'll be good for that as well. It's a very situational card, but in a good way, like situational as far as like you can use it on offense or defense, and you're going to be happy with either option depending on where you're at in the game. I think it's a very solid uncommon. You're going to be happy to have at least one of these in your deck. Next up, we have Nightmare Sower. It's for 4 mana. It's a fairy assassin. It's got flying and lifelink. It says whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. So 4 mana, 2/3 flying lifelink is understated. Fairy does have a lot going on with flash. Like if the blue black fairy deck is a very flashy, very tempo-y, grindy kind of deck, and if you're able to get it going, it's going to feel really good. But it's just so understated, and there's so much better stuff that you can do that has like flash and ways to draw cards and stuff like that, and ways to remove things because it's in black and blue. Like I just don't know how much this card's really going to make the cut. Next, we have Perfect Intimidation. It's for 4 mana. It's a sorcery. It says choose one or both. Target opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. Remove all counters from target creature. This card is another situational card. I feel like black's kind of like falling into this pattern where there's too many cards in this in the black color pairing that are very situational. They're only going to fit in certain decks. A lot of them are going to be sideboard cards and things like that nature. This is another one that's very like sideboardy. There's going to be times where by turn 4, your opponent only has 2 cards in their hand, and like that's going to feel really good. There's going to be times where you can remove counters from creature, and that's going to feel good. But both of them are just so situational. Like if you're top decking and this is the card that you get, you're going to feel so bad about it. And I really think that holds it back from being anything special. Next, we have Requiting Hex. It's for 1 black mana. It's an instant. It says an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. Destroy target creature with mana value 2 or less. If this spell's additional cost was paid, you gain 2 life. So this is decent. Honestly, like it's kind of situational. Where I do like that it says mana value 2 or less, because that is better than like the blue counter spell that we saw last, where like it had to be mana value 2. So I think that makes it a little bit better. It depends on how fast. Like it looks like there's definitely going to be some situations where decks can get going pretty fast here, and if it helps you kind of restabilize and get back to parity with your opponent, you're going to feel really good about that. If you're ahead on board or there's nothing with like mana value 2 or less, then it's going to feel real bad. If you're able to get rid of a giant token, it's going to feel good. Like it's a very kind of like the ceiling's really high and the floor is like a little bit low, but not as low as some of the other like floors on other black cards that we saw. So, it's a solid card. Next, we have Wretched Wretch. It is for 3 mana, it's a goblin. It says when this creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and it loses all abilities. 3 mana 4/2 is like a solid stat line. I think the problem is going to be like getting a -1/-1 counter on it to bring it back again. But if you're able to do that, or if you have like a reoccurring way to do that, then this card's going to feel insane because you're just going to keep getting it back and be able to do it over and over. So that part's going to feel really good about it. But overall, it's just like a solid card. It's a solid 3 mana card. It's an uncommon. Like you'll take it in your Goblin deck and be pretty happy with it. And if you can really get the synergies going with the -1/-1 counters, it's going to feel incredible. Next up, we have Scarblade Scout. Is for 2 mana. It's an Elf Scout. It's got lifelink. It says when this creature enters, mill 2 cards. So a 2 mana 2/2 lifelink that mills 2 cards in an Elf deck is going to feel really good. I think this is going to be one of the best commons for the Elves, for like the Elf deck in particular, just because it can really start to get what that deck's trying to do going off early. So yeah, even in like a non-elf deck, you're still going to be pretty happy to play it just because like a 2 mana 2/2 with lifelink, that's a solid stat line. You're going to be okay with that. And there's a lot of high upside to it. Next up, we have Scarblade's Malice. It's for 1 black mana. It's an instant. It says target creature you control gains Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, create a 2/2 black and green elf creature token. I really like this card. The fact that it gives Death Touch is something that even if you're trading off with it, it leaves you behind a 2/2 body, and it has lifelink as well. So if you're trading off with something and you're able to gain 2 life and then leave behind like a 2/2 black green elf, or even like gain 1 life and leave behind a 2/2 elf, just the fact that it replaces itself, it makes it way better than some of the tricks that we've seen in the past where like they don't replace themselves. So I think it's a very solid combat trick. You're gonna be happy to have at least one of these in your deck. Next, we have Shimmer Creep. It is for 5 mana. It's an elemental at uncommon. It says it has menace. It's vivid. When this creature enters, each opponent loses X life. You gain X life, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. Again, Vivid is a mechanic I'm not very high on. This stat line's not too great either. Like a 5 mana, 3/5 menace. By the time you get to turn 5, like there's probably some good enough blockers that it won't be able to really swing into effectively. I do like the fact that like your opponent loses life and you gain life. If you're able to like put down a 5 mana card that's a 3/5 with menace, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That's a very solid card. If you're able to put this down and your opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life, especially if you're in the late game, that could just end the game. So there are situations where I think this card's going to be better. I just don't think they did enough to like really make Vivid pop in this set. Like, and because of that, it's going to hold this card back from being anything super great. But it is a solid card. Like, if you need it to fill out your top curve or in like a perfect world, you'll play it just to help you out. But if you have to cut it, I don't think you're going to feel terrible about it either. Next up, we have Taste of Wares. It's 3 mana. It's a Goblin Warlock. Rare. It says when this creature enters, target opponent reveals X cards from their hand, where X is the number of goblins you control. You choose one of those cards. That player exiles it. If an instant or sorcery card is exiled this way, you may cast it for as long as you control this creature, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. I think this is going to fit in nicely with like your typical goblin deck. Like if you're able to play this on turn 3 and you already have like 1 or 2 goblins laying out, you're able to remove like the top 3 cards from their library. That's going to feel good. If it's in the late game and you have multiple goblins, it's going to feel even better. Because goblins are so small and because of the like aggressive nature that you want to be attacking in with goblins, I don't know how many you're going to have, but even if you only have like 3 on the battlefield, get rid of 3 cards. And if it's an instant sorcery, the fact that you can cast it and do any mana of that to cast it is going to feel good. I think it's got a high upside, very low downside. It's decently statted. Like a 3 mana 3/2 isn't great, but it's not terrible. It's a solid card. You'd be happy to have it in your goblin deck. Next up, we have Twilight Diviner. It's for 3 mana. It's an elf cleric. It says when this creature enters, surveil 2. Whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if they entered or were cast from a graveyard, create a token that's a copy of them. This ability triggers only once each turn. So I think this card's going to be very solid in your elf deck. The elf really cares about the graveyard. And this is like a perfectly static card. It's a 3 mana 3/3. You get a surveil 2, so you can already start putting stuff in the graveyard. There's all sorts of ways that you can cast things from graveyards in black. There's ways that you can put things in graveyard because of green and black. This ability is going to trigger at least once, and it'll feel like really, really good. If you're able to trigger it twice, it's going to feel even better. And like the floor of this is just, it's a 3 mana 3/3 that helps you surveil 2, and that's like a solidly static card. You're going to be happy to have this. And to close this out, we have Unbury. It's for 2 mana. It's an instant. You can choose one. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return 2 target creature cards that share a creature type from your graveyard to your hand. Again, this is going to feel incredible in your elf deck. You're going to have way too much going on with the graveyard to not have a bunch of elves in there. You'll be able to probably get 2 of them back. And to do it for only 2 mana means that you're probably going to be able to cast at least 1 or 2 of them. And all that's going to make this card feel incredible. I think it's a very solid uncommon, especially if you're in the elf deck, you're going to take it very highly. And that's going to close us out for all the black cards. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe, leave your comment. I don't know. I kind of feel a little down about black. Just seemed like there was a lot of cards in there that were very situational. They seemed a lot more to be understated compared to some other colors that we've seen. So I'm not sure how well black's going to really do in this set. But I'd be happy to be proven wrong. I love elves. I love goblins. Like I hope I'm able to play that. Like that's going to feel incredible. I'm going to enjoy it. So tell me what you all think. Thank you for what you do. Be sure to stick around for our next video. We're going to be looking at all the red cards. And thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to view this video.